a nation in the making. Next, it has often been said that the Congress is the first 20-year was moderate in its objectives and methods during the period demanded a greater voice for Indians in the government and administrations. Next, it wanted the legislative councils to be made more representative, given more power, and introduced in provinces where none excited in demanded that Indians be placed in high positions in the government for this purpose. It called for civil service examination to be held in India as well, not just in London. Next, the demand was Indians of the administrations was part of movement against racism, since most important jobs at the time were monopolies in the while official and the British generally assumed that Indians could not be given position of responsibility since British officers were sending a major part of their large salaries home in Indians. It was hoped would also reduce the drain of wealth of to England. Other demand included in the separations of the judiciary from the executive, the repeal of Arm Act, and the freedom of speech and expressions. Next, the early Congress also raised a number of economic issues. It declared that British rule had led to poverty and famines, increase in the land revenue, had impoverished peasants and zamindaras, and exports of the grains to Europe had created food shortage. Next, the Congress demanded reductions of revenue, cut in military expenditure, and more funds for irrigation. It passed many resolutions of the salt tax treatment of Indian laborers abroad and the suffering of forest dwellers caused by an interfering forest administration. Next, all this shows that despite being a body of the educated elite, the Congress did not talk only on behalf of professional groups, zamindara of industrializations. The moderate leaders wanted to develop public awareness about the unjust nature of British rule. They published newspaper, wrote articles, and showed how British rule was leading to the economic run of the country. They criticized British rule in their speech and sent representatives to different parts of the country to mobilize public opinion. Next, they felt that the British had respect for the ideal of freedom and justice, and so they would accept the just demands of Indians. What was necessary, therefore, was to express these demands and make the government aware of the feelings of Indians. Next, freedom is our birthright. By the 1890s, many Indians began to raise questions about the political style of the Congress in Bengal, Maharashtra, and Punjab. Leaders such as Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Lala Lajpat Rai were beginning to explore more radical objectives and methods. Next, they criticized the moderates to their politics of prayers and emphasized the importance of self-reliance and constructive work. They argued that people must rely on their own strength, not on the good intentions of the government. People must fight for Swaraj. Tilak raised the slogan, "Freedom is my bright fight and I shall in 1905. Cruzen presents Bengal and that the Bengal was the biggest province in the British India and included Bihar and parts of Orissa. The British armed for dividing Bengal for reason of administrative conversations. But what did administrative conveyance mean? Whose conveyance did it represent? Clearly, it was closely tied to the interests of British official and businessmen. Even so, instead to removing the non-Bengali areas from the province, the government separated East Bengal and merged it with Assam. Perhaps the main British motive were to curtail in the influence of Bengali politicians and the split the Bengali people. The partitions of Bengali influenced people all over India. All sections of the Congress, the moderate and the radicals, as they many called, opposed it. Large public meetings and demonstrations were organized, and the novel method of mass protest developed. The struggle that unfolded came to be known as the Swadeshi movement, strongest in Bengal, but with echoes elsewhere too. On the dialectic Andhra and stands in the was taken in the Venkraman movement. And the next, what problems regarding the early Congress does this comments highlight? Next, the Swadeshi movement sought to oppose British rule and encourage the idea of self-help, Swadeshi enterprise, national education and use of Indian language to fight for Swaraj. The radical advocated mass mobilization and boycott of British institutions and goods. Some individuals also began to suggest that revolutionary violence would be necessary to overthrow British rule.